For the year 2020, I am making a video review for every new movie I see, whether in theaters or at home, and on January 25th, I also watched the Meyerowitz Stories. Welcome to my year in movies. This is Talking to Myself. So the Meyerowitz Stories follows the Meyerowitz family as they come together for their father's art retrospective and as their father encounters health problems. Its three half-siblings are kind of estranged, and there's a lot of unspoken difficulty between the family. This is a film from Noah Baumbach, who is kind of in the circuit again for Marriage Story, and I haven't seen Marriage Story, but from what I gathered from the Meyerowitz Stories, there are probably a lot of things about Marriage Story that apply here. The thing that I love most about this movie is how natural the dialogue is, and there's actually a whole video essay about how natural the dialogue is. Characters have multiple conversations. They'll have one conversation with one character, but then a different conversation with somebody else. They'll talk over each other. They'll start and stop and start over, and that made it feel very natural. I think the circumstances overall felt like really cutesy and kind of manufactured, but I also am not in an artist's family living in New York, so maybe that's totally run-of-the-mill for them. I don't know. This is a very quiet but emotionally wrought film. It's very tense the whole time emotionally. And you can tell there are so many things that are being left unsaid by the characters. The whole movie is filled with very strong performances, and it's hard to pick someone who's like an anchor for the film, but I do think that of the three half-siblings, Danny, Jean, and Matt, played by Adam Sandler, Elizabeth Marvel, and Ben Stiller respectively, it's hard to pick like who does the best job. I do think Elizabeth Marvel is kind of the dark horse in all of this. Jean is such a cohesive character that I genuinely don't know if I've seen Elizabeth Marvel in anything else, but she was so good in crafting kind of an awkward but still very gentle person, and I very much enjoyed what she did with the character, all the choices that she made. Ben Stiller surprised me. There's a moment where he has this emotionally cathartic moment, and it took me by surprise because I didn't know he was capable of a moment like that, and it was huge. Like, you know, I could feel my body go cold just watching him in that moment. It was so impactful. And I also really liked Adam Sandler's performance. He's got like this dad energy that I'm definitely here for. He plays a newly single father who has been a house husband for his daughter's 18 years of life, and she's about ready to leave for college, and he's kind of wrestling with what his purpose is now that he's on the verge of being a divorcee and his daughter leaving for college. And it's another role where he really dials it back, and he's very toned down compared to some of his other films, and it's so good. I loved it. He has a lot of hurt behind his eyes, and he has this self-deprecating vulnerability that's very empathetic, and I very much enjoyed watching his face as people talked around him or over him or about him. They are definitely like the standouts. Dustin Hoffman plays their father. He plays Harold Meyerowitz, and he does a good job. He feels very much like a fully rounded character, and there's so much. He just comes in and out with these comments, and it's like you weren't listening to anything we said, and that felt very true to the character type, and it worked really well for the structure of the film overall. Emma Thompson is great too, naturally. I really enjoyed watching her. She has a couple of emotional beats that are really impactful, and I think that's one of the strengths of the movie, is every character has a chance to bare their soul, talk to some point and talk about something in their past or demonstrate that with another character, and it works really well for the movie. Pacing, it's kind of interestingly structured. The movie's a little under 2 hours, and it kind of feels like that whole amount of time. I found myself checking how much time is left at probably an hour and a half, which to me says it's about as long as it should have been, but I don't know what you could have cut. Maybe it was just because I was tired, because it was like 10 o'clock when I was watching it. The music, I think Randy Newman does the music for this, and he does the music for Marriage Story as well, and that's one of the critiques people have for Marriage Story, is that the music doesn't fit the tone of the movie. The music for this one, I think, fit the tone of the movie. It was vaguely reminiscent of like silent films, so when there are scenes that warrant that kind of off-the-wall music, it's a perfect accompaniment to those moments. I honestly didn't notice the score a whole lot, which to me says it was seamless and then just heightened what I was watching on screen. And to me, it worked. It worked fine. It was a film that over the course of watching, I was really upset that Netflix doesn't sell all of their original films because I can't find it anywhere. It probably exists on DVD somewhere, but I don't want to risk it leaving Netflix, even though it's a Netflix original. I'm giving the Meyerowitz Stories a 7 out of 10 overall. It's a good film. I enjoyed it. I can see myself watching it again. Strikes me as a rainy day movie. Cuddle up with some tea, get an animal if you have one, and just let yourself be taken into the problems of a different family. It was great. Like I said, I see myself watching it again. It does make me curious what Marriage Story is like, so maybe I'll check that out next. This has been My Year in Movies. Thank you for watching.